One of the most amazing places you could ever hope to see in your life is the ancient center of Petra in Jordan. Now, I'm sorry, but standard academics have got this place completely wrong, and you will see over the course of this video that the standard story of archaeologists makes no sense whatsoever, because the construction technology of the so-called Nabatean people, who were the supposed builders, was nothing compared to what would have been required to create Petra in the first place. This, here you can see ancient tool marks, and we see this and will see this over and over again, as well as this water channel that goes about 1.5 miles. It's been obviously repaired, likely by the so-called Nabatean people, but the original builders at this point in time are unknown. Okay, we're at the beginnings of what's called the Sikh, which is the entryway to the famous aspects of Petra in Jordan. And already we've been seeing tool marks similar to what we see at Baalbek in Lebanon and also on the Giza Plateau. Susan, our geologist, has stated that the stone in this area so far is likely about 7 on the Mohs scale out of 10. And in order to do that, to work this stone, you require very hard iron or steel tools. And they're talking conventionally that all this work was done 2,000 years ago, but where would they have gotten so many steel tools in order to do this work?
Back in there, you can see a lot of the structures where it was flooding and the water was just running down into it.
So the Sikh here is a natural phenomenon. It was created by millions of years probably of water flow coming through, but in certain areas it's been expanded by somebody. And now we're going to look more and more for tool marks. So here you see more repair work that was done, likely by the Nabatean people, and also possibly by the Romans. Again, the first people who were organized in this area supposedly were these Nabateans, with a bit of Greek influence afterwards, and then the Romans appeared, and after that, Petra was largely abandoned. But this water channel, which is broken in places and repaired in other places, would have to have been originally constructed using very hard steel tools at a minimum. And it's quite amazing. It's on both sides of the Sikh, and repair work by the Nabateans and others is actually quite obvious. You see a primitive form of concrete or cement was utilized, as well as broken bits of stone. But in some areas, the entire sides of the channel or channels is eroded away. Here is primitive concrete being used to do repair. And here again, more repair work using concrete, clay pipes, and broken pieces of stone. Compare that to the original stonework. It's night and day. So the Sikh, I thought, was maybe a few hundred feet long, but as you can see, it just keeps going and going and going. And it leads you to the most famous part of Petra, which, of course, is called the Treasury. The Treasury is approximately 1% of the entire site of Petra. And there's another location half an hour's drive away called Little Petra, which obviously was constructed by the same people many, or likely many thousands of years ago. Now Petra, or at least the Treasury aspect of Petra, of course, is world famous. Millions of photographs have been taken of it. And the sad thing is that there are many tourists who simply will travel down the Sikh from the entrance gate. They'll take photographs of the Treasury, then they'll turn around and go back, having seen, as I said, maybe 1% of the site. From the beginning of the entry gate to the end is 12 kilometers, or 7 miles, with ruins on the left and right-hand side. It's worth more than one trip, so we will be returning in 2019. And here in front of the Treasury, you can see not only a staircase, but also chambers that go underground, underneath the Treasury. And within the Treasury itself, there's a chamber which is likely somewhere in the nature of 100 feet long, 100 feet wide, and probably 30 feet high. The amount of stone volume would be somewhere in the nature of 300,000 cubic feet.
Cutting this hole into the bedrock like that is a hell of a lot of work. So it's quite possible that the Nabateans found the Treasury, at least the basic work, the cutting out, the big chamber hall inside, etc. And then, since they were very wealthy people, because they were international in terms of trade, that they simply maybe hired Greeks to come and do all of the ornate carving of it. So again, like in many places, I think you're looking at two different time periods. You're looking at the initial shaping, which is just very pragmatic, being done by the first culture, and then the Nabateans, who arrived somewhere around 300 BC. Maybe by 100 BC, they had made enough of a fortune that they were able to hire experts in other countries to embellish the work, such as here at the famous Treasury. The Treasury is only a small percentage of what Petra is, which we'll see that way.
So we leave the Treasury behind because there are way too many tourists there, and I had no idea that this place was so massive. But we were told by an Australian engineer, Antonio, who had visited the year before, that it was a must-see because of its sheer scale, the astonishing amount of work that had been done, and the mysterious nature of who it was that did the actual work. You see this edifice? It's one of 20 or possibly 30 that are located at Petra. Very simple in execution, but a lot of work to produce. And here again, as we pan around, you'll see there are more and more of these amazing edifices. And the amount of weathering is quite astonishing too. Is this simply wind and sand over the course of a couple of thousand years? Or many, many thousands of years?
It appears to me that the initial work is actually quite simple in terms of form, like that in behind. where you have flat surfaces, you have the caves or the chambers, you have this domed area, and sometimes this curve. And then after that came the Nabateans, who hired artisans to do the surface work, especially at the Treasury, because the Treasury is right at the opening of the Sikh, so that's why they wanted it to look spectacular. I guess they didn't have the finances to be able to get all of the rest of this done in detailed ornamentation, which you will see momentarily.
Chamber after chamber after chamber, all stated as being tombs, but you're looking at millions of cubic feet of stone that had to have been removed in order to create these openings. And again, that would have to have been done either with a massive population of people with at least hardened steel tools or some form of lost ancient high technology. And what you're going to see in a following film is so-called Little Petra, which is not little at all, and it's very possible that in between Petra and Little Petra there are even more of these amazing cutout chambers.
Among other things, Petra is astonishing because of its sheer scale. The idea that a tribal nomadic people started this from scratch and built the whole thing in the course of 200 or 300 years is completely ridiculous. But what's also amazing is we see many examples of ancient megalithic work in Peru and especially in Egypt, where acoustics were a vital aspect of the whole construction. And so what you're going to hear inside this massive chamber will probably, hopefully, blow your mind. So, tuned to Om, just like the king's chamber in the Great Pyramid. Oh! Done on purpose. And these are the original tool marks.
Simple in design, but amazing execution.
Okay, this is likely a Nabatean construction. One can imagine that someone comes in from the eastern deserts, discovers this site, finds almost all of this here, and decides to do some kind of construction. Since their ancestors lived in the desert, it's highly unlikely that they knew anything as regards stone carving, but building something out of stone, small stones, and mortar is likely. So it's pretty damn obvious to me that the site was found by the Nabateans because it's just so huge. I mean, it still goes off in this direction, off in that direction. As the geologist Susan Moore has stated to me today, this sandstone is not soft. Some sandstones can be soft and others are harder. It depends upon how it was deposited, how much pressure has been applied over time during the deposition. If it was metamorphosed, then it becomes quartzite. This appears to be sandstone. But she says the hardness of the stone is about 7 out of 10, 10 being diamond. So you would require, at a minimum, probably carbon steel in order to be able to shape this. And there's just so much of it. And carbon steel did exist around 300 BC. I believe the Assyrians were the ones who were the masters of making it at that time. They likely did export it to places like Egypt and here, but it would require thousands upon thousands of tools to be able to do this work. So obviously this is site transformation. The caves and tunnels and chambers were found, and then a few of them, like the Treasury, were later detail carving was done on them, because that's the first structure you see when you go through the Sikh. Just like in Peru, Bolivia, Turkey, Egypt, Greece, there's a megalithic component to these places which is much, much older than what conventional, hopefully soon to be retiring academics have to say about it. Yep, on the donkey. Slow down. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our little tour here of Petra. We basically covered most of the site. There's still more seemingly up here. But if you'd like to join us, then please do. And you can follow me through my YouTube channel, or also my mega website called hiddenincatours.com. Enjoy.
You want to come on? وليش الجنوب الغالية الشعب نبيع بنت ما نبيع حرام من البيت
Okay.
And these are upcoming Hidden Inca tours. Elongated Skulls of Peru in August 2017. A cruise on the Pacific side of Mexico in November 2017. Robert Boval joins us for Peru, Bolivia, and Easter Island in November 2017. Exploration of Ancient Mexico in January 2018. And Egypt in March 2018. This will be our 6th annual tour. Classy all the way.